Today on What's Next.
Elvis was 7 years older than I was when he died. And I went, man, I better clean up my act.
It was the greatest job in the world with the greatest woman in the world behind me.
Why don't you get rid of your to-do list and write a to-live list?
Hello and welcome to What's Next. We're back again to remind you as many times as it takes that it's important to have passion and purpose in your life, to have a What's Next, because it not only increases your lifespan and your health span, but also your happy span. Joining me today are three very happy friends living lives of passion and purpose every single day. Bill Schaefer and Amy Sweezy are here at GBHQ, Growing Boulder headquarters, and Dr. James Smith Jr. is joining us once again from the Dr. James Worldwide headquarters in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, PA. And Bill, you're going to lead us off again today with a story about a Hall of Fame musician in his, sixth or seventh decade of doing what he loves, but he's doing it these days in a way that's no longer self-destructive.
You know, Mark, he's one of the most important figures in the history of rock and roll. Roger McGuinn was a founding member of the Byrds. He's credited with creating country rock, psychedelic rock, popularizing the jingle-jangle sound of the 12-string guitar. These days, he is in his 80s, and yeah, he's still out there, still touring. Just him, his guitar, and his stories, out on the road with his wife, Camilla. And you know, some of those stories do have to do with the excesses of celebrity, the sex, drugs, and rock and roll lifestyle that McGuinn stopped almost instantly after he heard about the death of the king, Elvis Presley.
Elvis was 7 years older than I was when he died. I was 35, he was 42. And I went, man, I better clean up my act. Gene Clark died, Michael Clark, Greg Thomas, my old drummer. Wow. Skip Batten, almost everybody I ever worked with.
Did you feel like you were headed on a collision course with an early death too?
Well, that's what the impression I got when Elvis died. Yeah, that was a feeling. And I started to see behind the sugar coating, I started to see evil for what it was.
McGuinn turned to religion. Not only did it save him, it guided him to his wife and to his many passions. And here's something you may not know. It inspired him to create one of the greatest archives of traditional folk music found anywhere.
The origin of the Folk Den was to put songs up on the internet for free download and put the chords and the lyrics and the story about the song and a little picture to go along with it, like a coffee table book. 1, 2, 3. Go with me to that land, come and go with me to that land, come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. Finding really good ones can get tricky, and so far there are 320 on my website, McGuinn.com, in the Folk Den section sponsored by UNC Chapel Hill as a public service.
It's an unexpected treasure of the roots of music.
Yeah, well, it's still a labor of love for me. Not everybody knows about it.
27 years every month.
Yeah.
Offering a brand new song that we can download and take with us. How long would you want to keep doing that?
Well, as long as I can. It's the same with performing. It's like, how long do you want to keep performing? I love it. I want to quit doing something I love.
It's a great question, and McGuinn does seem truly timeless. Not only is it hard for us to remember that he's in his 80s, but you get the feeling that he doesn't think about age very often himself.
Oh, well, it's a shock, and it's a kind of a fun surprise. I feel great, but I'm 80. And, well, the good thing is a lot of people look at me and say, oh, come on, man, you must be kidding. So that's nice.
What would 25-year-old Roger McGuinn have thought of 80-year-old Roger McGuinn?
It wouldn't. It never occurred to me. It just never occurred to me. Well, back in the day, we didn't think we were going to live past 30. That was old age. Never trust anybody over 30. 30 was it.
Is that the way you felt?
There was a generation gap that's it's still around. It's just not as pronounced as it was. But people over 30 were not of the same mental attitude.
And that may have been true back then, too.
Yeah, I think it was. What if we put some of that Bach-like stuff on the front of Mr. Tambourine Man and kick it up with a Beatle beat? It might come out okay for radio.
Even at 80, nothing about Roger McGuinn seems old. His curiosity, his passion, his excitement for life is palpable, and maybe that's his message. He's fully aware how special his life has been, which is why he plans to keep touring. Telling his story is not just one of his greatest joys. Audiences everywhere love it too.
It's the soundtrack of their lives, and it makes them feel young and happy. And you could say, well, that's just nostalgia, but it's therapeutic for people.
And who better than you to do it? You do a great job with it.
Thank you.
You know, it's the difference between following your passion and following fame. He loves what he's doing now, loves his life. And he never thought about what life in his 80s was going to be like because he never thought he would live that long. But here he is, still playing, still recording folk music, still touring, and still loving life. Amy, what inspires you about Roger's story? There are a lot of different aspects to it.
Yeah, I like that he said that I'm not going to stop, I'm not going to retire. I think often in our society, that's our mindset, right? You get into your 60s and you're just supposed to retire and go play golf or go sit on the couch and watch TV till the end. And he's like, no, why would I do that? This is my labor of love. I love to perform and I love to come up with these songs every month, so I'm just going to keep going.
Amy, I'm right there with you. Why would I quit what I love? I tell people I'm going to expire before I retire. When you find your sweet spot in life, there's no end. And obviously, Roger found his sweet spot early on. Mark?
You know, Roger is really a rare and powerful combination, I think, of creativity and curiosity and fearlessness. And in many ways, he's like an 80-year-old, 8-year-old. This is a guy who is fascinated with everything and unafraid of anything, which is why, you know, Bill, I think he's been such an innovative force in music.
He suggested to Allan that he apply to the Guinness Book of World Records.
Every moment is once in a lifetime. I love that. But when we can't be together, it's hard to share those moments. That was before I found an easy way for Mom to connect with us. Oh, the memories. Their first date, to summers at the lake, to ball games, to birthdays. It's all shared with her grandpad. And that brings me happy tears. Mom, were your ears burning?
Oh, you know they were.
Did you get the pictures that Shelby sent you?
I did, and I felt like I was right there with you.
Life is about transitions, and there is an art and a science to navigating them. They're about shedding what matters least so we can focus on what matters most. And that's why Growing Bolder is thrilled to partner with Caring Transitions, the nation's most trusted total solutions provider for seniors in these times. Whether it's home cleanouts, downsizing, relocation, estate sales, and so much more, one call handles it all. To get started with a free consultation, visit caringtransitions.com. Welcome back to What's Next. And you know, one of my favorite things about the work that we do here at Growing Bolder are all the hidden stories that we just happen to find along the way, the story within the story, if you will. And one of those occurred recently when we were interviewing Lisa Rizzo and her parents, Rosalind and Allan Ganz, and we were talking to them about downsizing, about moving later in life, when we just happened to discover that Allan is in fact the world record holder for the longest career as an ice cream man. And I mean, who among us doesn't remember one of the sweetest sounds of summer, the chimes of the ice cream truck as it gets ever closer to our street, and we're waiting anxiously in the driveway with a fistful of quarters. Of course, we just had to get the scoop on the job that Allan loved for nearly 7 decades. Did you ever aspire to be the longest running ice cream man in the world, or did it just happen?
No, it just happened because when you enjoy something, you just do it Time is just a matter of time. You keep rolling on. It was the greatest job in the world with the greatest woman in the world behind me.
What's it like when you give somebody an ice cream bar or an ice cream cone?
You see that smile on their face? It's worth $1 million. They were the happiest kid in the world. You bought your kids a quarter ice cream or a dime or dollar ice cream. They were happy. A smile on their face, there's nothing more in the world you want.
His father had an ice cream truck. That's how Allan had the exposure to the business in the first place. As a teenager, he helped his father.
I would work on the truck with him on the weekends. And then when I was 15, he bought his first truck in my town. So everybody knew my dad had the ice cream truck. Everybody. And he would, he would go down all the streets. He would go to all the baseball, the Little League games, soccer games. My house was the house to go to after school in high school, no doubt.
How did the Guinness thing come about, and how proud you must be?
Yes, very proud. And that came from a customer. This man was one of the children who bought ice cream from Allan. He suggested to Allan that he applied to the Guinness Book of World Records because you've probably been doing it longer than whoever has the record now. And he was right. He's pretty special. And his customers absolutely loved him.
Did your ice cream truck have one of those little jingles that played?
I had a music box. I played Yankee Doodle on it. And every so often I changed the record and people says, we didn't come out, it wasn't your song, we waited for you. So I kept Yankee Doodle and that was my trademark.
And do you still hear Yankee Doodle in your mind?
I didn't count sheep at night, I listened to Yankee Doodle.
What made it so good? What did you get out of it?
It's just satisfaction of being my own boss, making money, and friends, I'm the richest man in the world.
Boy, he just lit up when we started talking about the old ice cream days. And guys, I think being an ice cream man has got to be one of the best jobs out there. So what about you? If you weren't worried about pay or time or logistics, what job would you love to do? Bill?
Man, nothing that any of us say is going to top ice cream man. And can you imagine having your dad be the ice cream man? That would be the coolest feeling in the world, wouldn't it? I mean, for me, I think I would go to like school teacher would be really intriguing, or even like a mental health counselor or a musician, or some of the things that would interest me.
For me, it'd probably be Beyonce's personal driver. No, I'm joking. I'm thinking about a bartender. People talk, they have fun, they tell stories. I serve, I'm a writer. I would get so many stories, so many anecdotes, so many experiences just standing there talking to people, greeting them, and lighting up their day.
I have to be optimistic, ridiculously optimistic about my next steps.
We're not made to withdraw from life. We're made to seize each moment and to value every breath. We're made to be bold, to take risks, and pursue our passions. Don't identify with limitation. Embrace possibility. Stop growing older. Start growing bolder. Find your what's next at growingbolder.com.
Check. Check. In case you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm crossing things off of my to-do list. Do you have one? You write things down, then as you acquire, or do you cross it off? Your to-do list. It's been around for a long time. I got a challenge for you. Why don't you get rid of your to-do list and write a to-live list? Here's what I have to do to live. I have to surround myself with a tribe. I have to be optimistic, ridiculously optimistic about my next steps. And I can't give up. Regardless of what's happening, regardless of the circumstances, I have to keep moving forward. If I'm doing those, then I'm living. So rather than write down what you have to do, again, write down how you're going to live. going forward. I believe in to-live lists, and I'm retiring from the to-do list. How about you? Oh, and remember, you'll always get what you've always gotten until you become the person you've never been. It's time to be that person. Regardless of where you are in your life, what stage, what age, it's time to create that to-live list. Go do it.
Great stuff from the doctor, James Smith Jr. And I love the idea of the to-do or the to-live list, replacing the to-do list. It is so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and the trying to keep up that we forget what we really love and what we really want to accomplish. So what about you guys? Give me 2 or 3 things on your to-live list. Dr. James, lead us off.
Get to the water and the beach, dance, and again, surround yourself with like-minded people who love to live. Become allergic to pessimism and drama. And over the past 2 or 3 years, I've been loving living every day. And I waited until my 60s to start doing it. Amy?
Well, listen, I am the queen of lists and to-do lists, so I cannot give up my to-do list, but how about if I just add to it and make a live list to go along with it? I think the number one on my to-live list is practicing gratitude. I just think it is so important that every day, when you have such a hard time with that day, if you can find one thing to be thankful for, what can I learn from this, it makes all the difference.
Yeah, I think this whole exercise is fantastic because living with intent is so important. We'll just go down the conveyor belt of life and not even think about things like this. But for me, it would be like making friends. I love to make friends. You can never do that enough. And making a difference comes from making friends. You want to help and staying in good enough shape to be able to do all the things you want to do for as long as you can.
Powerful messages from all, and for a couple by the name of Joan and Jimmy O'Shaughnessy, their to-live list was pretty much one item. They liked dancing together and they wanted to do more of it and they wanted to get better at it. So they started taking dance lessons, but then the pandemic hit, so they started to teach themselves dances at home. And that's when a friend told them about all of the dance trends on TikTok, and they figured, why not? Today, these grandparents have been married 50 years. They have 3 million followers on TikTok, another 3 million on Instagram. And this video, our bold social clip of the week, has over 28 million views on TikTok and counting.
If it's a camera up in here, then it's only you put me when I do. If it's a camera up in here, then I best not catch just flick on you.
You're likely to be faced with helping a loved one through a life transition, and Caring Transitions can partner with you during this time. We offer a customized approach to each individual for downsizing, home cleanouts, estate sales, online auctions, and more. With more than 280 locations nationwide, our experts are here to provide compassionate care and help you manage it all. Learn more with a free consultation at caringtransitions.com.
Every moment is once in a lifetime. I love that. But when we can't be together, it's hard to share those moments. That was before I found an easy way for Mom to connect with us. Oh, the memories. Their first date, to summers at the lake, to ball games, to birthdays. It's all shared with her grandpad. And that brings me happy tears. Mom, were your ears burning?
Oh, you know they were.
Did you get the pictures that Shelby sent you?
I did, and I felt like I was right there with you.
Welcome back to What's Next. I'm Amy Sweezy. Are you part of the more than 1 million Growing Bolder followers on Facebook? What about Instagram, TikTok, maybe Threads? Well, we have inspiring video stories, reels, memes to get your day off to a great start. And we'd love to engage with you there and get your take on questions like this one. What is something you love to do as a child, but you don't do anymore? And how could you add that back into your life now? For me, I'm going to say climbing trees. And honestly, I probably should not add that back to my life right now because I would probably fall or break my hip or something like that. But what I loved about climbing trees was just spending time with my sister. We would go out in the yard, we would be out in nature, we would laugh, we would breathe and enjoy. So I think I can still do those things, maybe looking at trees, being around trees, but not necessarily climbing the trees. What about you, Bill?
That's a good one. I used to love doing that, talking the day away with the people you're hanging with. I think for me it was the days that you really wouldn't have a plan. You go out, you get on your bicycle, and you just start riding around, and you see who's out, who's doing what. And when we were kids, do you remember, it wasn't even our friends necessarily. You'd find some kids playing, you'd just ride up, and before you knew it, you were doing whatever they were doing together. And these days they would call that stalking, I think.
Right.
For me, it would be going back to my roots. As a young child growing up, I was a member of the Jackson Six. It was Michael, Marlon, Tito, Jackie, Jermaine, and James. In my living room, we would put on concerts in front of my imaginary friends, my G.I. Joe, my stuffed animals. My microphone was my brush, my guitar was my broom, and we sang, and did concerts. As a speaker now, I have to start singing and playing music on stage. I don't sound good, but it doesn't make a difference. I'm doing what I love. Mark?
Can you moonwalk, Dr. James? Because you should work that into one of your presentations.
I'll do the robot.
I used to love art class as a kid, and I have to tell you, honestly, I want to buy a potter's wheel. I want to buy a welding torch, and I mean that seriously, but for practical reasons, I've settled on painting for now. I wish I had more time to do it, but I do paint a little bit every day. It is an immediate escape from my to-do list, which thanks to Dr. James, I'm now trying to get away from. And folks, whether it's something you used to do or something brand new, remember this: the notion that learning stops with age is a myth. Older adults have a remarkable capacity to continue learning, to continue growing. Age is no barrier to personal development. Embracing new challenges, stepping out of your comfort zone stimulates growth. So before you think I'm too old or too weak, remember that whatever we put into our minds will ultimately end up in our bodies. Stereotypes are internalized, perceptions become reality. And get this, according to the National Science Foundation, an average person has about 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts every single day. And of those, 80% are negative and 95% are repetitive. We tell ourselves over and over that we're too old. It's too late. Well, don't worry about getting old. Worry that you believe getting old is a bad thing. We'll see you next time.